The college football experience, Conference USA coach rankings episode, and college football news on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, the bank account that is built for better. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN and get a $25 deposit bonus. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Jerry Glanville, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, brother.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. USA, USA, USA. Conference USA coach rankings episode. Of course, we'll cover the Conference USA because the suits aren't. They aren't. All right, and they need to. It's a beautiful conference. YouTube.com/the college experience. Hop on over there, hit that like and subscribe button, and hopefully you're catching this series because we've done every single conference. We have just the MAC and CUSA remaining, and two independents. Don't forget that. We'll have to squeeze that into tomorrow's show. But here we are talking CUSA, Conference USA football, and it's a new year. It's kind of been a new conference. There's two new teams entering from the FCS ranks, and I'm excited to talk about it. If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that is a fair question. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos.
Well, hello, the college football 136 episodes, 136 team previews, a solo episode for every single team in the land, just right around the corner. When June kicks, we're going in. You coming with us or not? 'Cause that's where the cash is and the princess. All right. Always loved that about Mario Brothers. It's a classic story to get pussy. Two plumbers trying to get pussy, right? Felt like it was an underrated storyline. These Japanese people knew what the hell they were doing. What the hell am I talking about? All right. I am joined by my co-host. This guy, he is the host of, the college basketball experience. You've heard him on for many, many, many years. Give it up for former staffer at Austin Peay with the Governors, South Carolina with the Gamecocks, and West Virginia with the Mountaineers, Ryan McIntyre, a.k.a. Moneyline Mac. How are you, brother?
And former Jacksonville State football fan. Sorry, guys, we took your coach. Rich Rock gave home. I still like the Cox, but yeah, I mean, I guess I could go wrong, but yeah, play the music.
Mac tonight! Come on, make it Mac tonight!
I mean, just Mac. Here's Mac coming in.
They were like a hobo on a ham sandwich. They were going hard.
Mac coming in hard at these Jacksonville State Gamecock fans.
Sorry, guys.
But he got Rich Rod. YouTube.com/the college experience. Hop on over there. The chat's rolling along. Shout out to Rolex Dad. Go Fresno State Bulldogs. We won't be talking about them this episode, but we are wishing for them to have a great season there. And shout out to John in the chat, our boy, great guy, and many others. So hop on in there. But look, we're going to talk CUSA. We're going to go through all 12 teams in the new CUSA. We'll talk about all that in a second. But before we do that, we got to talk about what's topical. We saw it last night where we're talking the SEC and the Big Ten trying to get 4 auto bids for each team in the conference. And I just thought that was ridiculous. And I'm glad to see today when I wake up and I go through some of the stuff that now this 5 auto bids, 11, the top 11 after that. So 16 teams seems to be gaining some traction, which I'm all on board with. I actually think that's the best model in my opinion. I've heard many go against that, but I think that's the best model because the sport changes. You don't want to give too much like if you give 4 auto bids to those 2 conferences, the sport changes, and I think that's something that is getting lost in what's going on right now. I heard Greg Sankey on Feinbaum today talking about how the SEC's been like the only conference to compromise, and then he quoted some stats saying like if you look at the past 15 years. We're top 60 ranked team, top 50 ranked team in all of these, rankings. And okay, that's fair, but this is once again my argument with all of this stuff is that's the old model. We know the SEC was paying players under the table for a long time, but I grew up in the era in the late 80s and early 90s when I started to get into college football, late 80s. It was much. I remember when the SEC was not the best conference, right? And then I remember them being awesome in the 2000s. They kind of stole the baton, I thought, and ran with it. But I remember the Big 12 at one point being the best conference from like 96 to like 2000, 2001. I thought it was the best conference. I remember a point when the Big 10 was the best. And you could make an argument with some of those years because the Pac-12 had some really good depth some of those years as well, and the ACC's had some good years too. Obviously with Bobby Bowden and Florida State when they were rolling. I don't know if they've ever been tops to me, but I've seen a lot of change within the sport. Obviously, we had the Big East back then with Miami and Virginia Tech at one point that were just rolling. So I think it's very ridiculous to try to not plan ahead for change. And I hit on this last night, but I just want to hammer this home again. Like the sport changes drastically. I know people don't like to say that. They say, no, Ohio State was winning 50, 60 years ago, and they're still winning now. That's true. There are certain programs that have been rolling, but there's certain programs that have, like Army was winning national championships. You know what I mean? Ivy League schools were dominant. I just think the sport changes, and I think it's stupid to think to just all of a sudden allocate this power to the Big 12. I'm sorry, the Big 10 and the SEC. Because now things are, and to use a stat over the past 15 years to say this, well, that's the old rules, which you were breaking, by the way. You know what I mean? I'm old enough to remember when Ole Miss was terrible, when South Carolina was terrible, when LSU was not that great, right? I remember these times. Kentucky was a fucking doormat, right? So now you're seeing, to me, I think that ever since you've been able to pay players, you've had the last 3 national championships have only involved one SEC team. They did dominate the Big 12 team, but the Big 12 has one team in the past 3 national championships as well. And I know the SEC I think is still a stronger conference than the Big 12, but I just think shit changes. And if you're not planning on that, we've all of a sudden seen an influx of money. Just all these schools are starting to take football more serious. Duke is throwing major money in their football program. Miami's back to paying the shit out of, now that it's legal, they're paying the shit out of everybody. SMU comes out of nowhere paying everybody now, right? Texas Tech coming out of nowhere. Coach Prime going to Colorado and getting that program back on track. So I think it's very, very critical that people think differently about the sport, because it is going to be different 5-10 years down the road, especially if you don't let these conferences get 4 auto bids. So I'm excited to see the 11-5 thing. I know people say, well, if you run this exercise, I saw Brett McMurphy tweet this, like, if you run this exercise, the SEC would have dominated the past 15 years. But yeah, that's under the old fucking model. That's under the old model. BYU is a shit ton of money they're throwing in. All these other programs are taking it more serious. And now that you can pay players, you're seeing, to me, them be able to get closer. And that's why you're seeing the parity that's existed over the past 2 or 3 seasons. So I'm curious your thoughts on the 11-5. Is that, like, obviously to me, more is better. I think I actually want more than 16, but
yeah.
I think this is the 11-5 to me is the best case scenario. And I don't care that some year, 6 SEC teams are in. I don't give a fuck if they're deserving, then put them in. Put them in. Yeah.
Thank you. I that was going to be my point is if the SEC is dominant that year, then they should get like the NCAA tournament in basketball. Then they should get all those teams in. I went and looked last year. If Alabama just beats Oklahoma or Vanderbilt, not both, just needs to beat one of them, and not get blown out by Oklahoma, may I add. They're in. They get 4 teams in, and then we're not even talking about this. And the Big Ten got it last year because they earned it. Oregon, Ohio State, of course, Penn State, and then Indiana basically ran the table, so they got the 4. With the 11-6. The Big 12 would have got a couple extra teams in. It's not the SEC saying that we're going to get all 6-7 teams in like that. That's not going to happen. I mean, you look at it last year, BYU was right there on the outside looking in with Alabama, and so was Iowa State. So, I think it does. I like the 11-5. I am totally against any set number for a certain conference outside of one.
Yeah.
Because all right, so you look at it last year. The SEC had 5 teams that finished 5-3. Who wins the tiebreaker?
Yeah.
Because with the unbalanced schedules, there's no way to interpret that. So it would go to the ranking, and we already know the rankings are biased to begin with. So the whole thing, just take the best teams based off of what they do on the field. And if the SEC gets goddamn 8 teams, then hats off to them. Good year, SEC. Maybe you guys will win a playoff game this year.
Yeah, and I like that one. But no, and I think even more like they're kind of holding it hostage, meaning we'll go to a 9-game conference schedule if they have the 4 auto bids. Well, that's the problem here. I'll put it like this: then fuck you. Just keep your 8, but every other conference should go to 8. Because it's what's the reasoning? Well, our conference is tougher. Look at the past 15 years. The sport has drastically changed, maybe more than any point in the history of a sport that started in the 1860s. You know what I mean? You can make the argument that the sport has changed more in the past 3 years than the entire history of the fucking sport. That includes the invention of the forward pass in like 1910. All right, so like. Using that example, I know that SEC has passionate fan bases. I know they want to spend money, and that's great, and that's credit to them. But I hope we get there seems to be momentum. Now I see that from what I understand, now I don't know that they've been outspoken on this or on the record with this. Now I think it's the Big Ten that's going up against they don't want, because the SEC, when I woke up today, I was like, well, they're warming up to that idea. The SEC coaches want that. Well, great. I want that too. And but if now it's the Big Ten that is rumored to be the one that doesn't like it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that makes sense because they play one more conference game.
Yeah.
So here's the quick fix: go to 8 conference games. Does it suck? Yes, but you need to get. And I would say the Big 12 should do the same. And you can have you know what? If you do 8 conference games, there can be a silver lining. You can bring back all these fucking rivalries.
100%. I would love 8 conference games. That means, for example, West Virginia, they could play Pitt and Virginia Tech every single year. Or Maryland.
You could get Oklahoma, Nebraska, or Colorado, Nebraska. You could get Kansas, Missouri. You could get Missouri, Illinois. You could do all these fucking things then to add to the regionality. All go to 8 conference games. Every conference. If the SEC wants to hold them hostage, if the SEC wants to man up and say 9, then make the ACC go to 9. Tell the ACC go to fucking 9. But I think 5-11 is the best by far to me. Like, and I think like we said, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but there'll be years, especially as the problem is, and the people only look at like what has happened now. They don't remember. I could sit there and make a case of like, hey, Georgia Tech won a national championship. Colorado won a national championship in my lifetime, right? Notre Dame's won a bunch. I mean, there are a bunch outside of those 2 power conferences: Clemson, Miami, Florida State. Now, who knows where they end up, but I'm just saying, like, the shit changes. I keep thinking, like, does anybody in these fucking rooms ever just key in on the sport fucking changing? BYU won a national championship in the 80s, right? Like, shit changes. You don't think it's like Patty C's point of why we call Oklahoma Arklahoma is because they joined this conference. Arkansas used to be a fucking power. Go back to the 60s and look at Arkansas. They used to be a fucking power. Well, in 1990 or 1991, whatever year it was, they joined the SEC. And since then, they have not been a power. Shit changes. A team will emerge out of the new Big 12. A team will emerge out of the ACC. Maybe it's SMU, right? And then that's going to become a power. And then fan buy-in. And then maybe the conference changes. Maybe Florida State gets their shit together. All it takes is one fucking hire at these places. And now that they're putting football first, like, I mean, Duke's spending big money. A lot of these schools that were kind of phoning it in before, you get change. You got change even in the old system when there was programs just phoning it in. So you're going to get even more change, I think, now that you have this demand that, hey, football has got to be driving the bus for our athletic department. So anyway,
did you see Brian Kelly say he wants to play Big Ten teams?
Of course he's going to say that, right? Of course he's going to say that because they want to stay in the Power 2. They want to strengthen that conference schedule. And They want all the power. I would be so disappointed in the sport. I mean, luckily there's FCS, there's D2, there's D3, there's NAIA, but like 4 auto bids for a fucking conference is ridiculous.
Just let it happen. If it happens, then
3 is ridiculous. Like to me, like, I mean, you could maybe sell me on 2, but I still think that's weak. I just think let the conferences, figure it out and then go with the best teams after that.
What's the point of winning the conference championship if the top 4 get in there?
That's what
like that Tennessee Alabama game last year would have meant absolutely nothing. That ultimately ended up being a tiebreaker game in Knoxville last year because Tennessee ended up with 2, Alabama ended up with 3 because they puked all over themselves in that Oklahoma game. So yeah, it's if the SEC's got 5, 10-2 teams, they took care of business in the non-con, and they have another 9-3 team, then let them get 6 teams in that year. They earned it, but they didn't earn it last year. You earned it in basketball. You did not earn it, and you earned it in baseball with the way that the bracket was. You did not earn it in football last year. What did them saying that?
And what did Sankey say? Like, the schedule is easier to you're not rewarding. You should always reward the schedule, right? Like, and I love how this is like, well, he's alluding to Indiana, right? Saying that they won their games and Alabama, should have been in over them. I would fight that all day because first off, he's acting like the schedule was the first time. This is the first time Michigan won in the 14 playoff with a nobody non-con, right? Alabama did this one year. They had like Duke and New Mexico State. Saban was notorious. They played like 2 road games in his non-con road games in his whole fucking tenure in 15 years at Alabama, right? I know they played in the SEC West and that was a tough division, but still, you can go back to a lot of different teams in my lifetime. I think the Virginia Tech team in '99 had a very soft non-con schedule, right? Like, you can look at this, and this has been kind of the blueprint of the fucking sport. That's why we've been arguing for a large playoff for a long time, is because a lot of teams that hoist or that have the national championship banner hanging up there, you could make an argument and say, well, they went 11-1 and they didn't play the best non-con. And guess what? There's another 11-1 team, or there's a 10-1-1 team, or some shit like that. Back to the ties. So, I hope they get it right, man. 11-5, or 5-11. I think it's the most perfect one. If the SEC has great years, they have great years. More power to them. But I do think the sport is never be stupid enough to think that the sport's going to stay the same. All right, like University of Illinois Chicago used to be in the fucking Big Ten. You know what I mean? Like and dominant, by the way. Right. So like, don't ever think just because a couple blue bloods stay in the national landscape that the sport's not radically changing at all times. All right, let's jump into this Conference USA edition. But before I do that, I do want to let you know that we are the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And the SGP guys are going to be ripping packs live on air next Monday night. They'll be breaking a case of Panini Prims and Dabs. You can get 10% off your favorite team with the promo code SGPN. So hop on over there. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/break to get in on that action. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, Edge Boost, the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. Earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today, edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN. Once again, deposit $25 and Edge Boost will match that deposit. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Love Underdog when it comes to college football action. I've made a shit ton of money on that. College hoops as well last year. Right now, obviously, those sports aren't rolling along, but NBA, NHL, MLB, UFL I've been playing. That's a lot of fun. And look, Underdog's going long for the NBA playoffs with their extender bonus. Hop in game one, and the longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. So check that out and sign up. And when you do, use our promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yes, Cody Frazier, Robert Martin, everybody there. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, I mean, look, so we're gonna show some slides here in a second. So I highly recommend watching this episode. But in general, this was a conference that I thought, and this happens as someone that's been a fan of the sport for a very long time. But just a couple years ago, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we're sitting there breaking down. I can remember breaking down this conference, being like, wait, maybe it was the year they added Chadwell 2 years ago. Or they had Hugh Strip Club Freeze, one of the two, right? And you're like, man, Hugh Freeze / Chadwell, Jerry Kill, Keeler down there at Sam Houston State coming in, Rich Rod at Jacksonville State coming in, and you're like, God damn, this is a good. Rick Stockstill was a longtime coach. Helton at Western Kentucky, and you're sitting there like, this is a very good coaching conference. Most all of those guys are gone.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in this reload, and then you get Delaware, which has been a fucking powerhouse really for the past 40 years in the FCS, coming into the conference. And you also get Missouri State, who Road Rash faced. Bobby Petrino was most recently their head coach, and he obviously left for A&M, but Missouri State was kind of a wild card. They had some FCS playoff appearances, but they weren't necessarily an FCS power, so they're just taking their opportunity to jump in before, kind of like Sac State. I feel like, although Sac State's going independent, but how do you feel about the conference's shape? I like a second team in the state of Missouri. I've long said that every state should be represented, and there should always be a mid-major in the state too. I think that's healthy for the FBS. But how do you feel about the conference in general, but also adding these two teams in and the coaching just overall? How was the exercise for you after doing all these other ones?
Another interesting league, just because you do have a couple first-year head coaches, but you got some guys on some other stops that have been successful. I mean, Willie Simmons did a great job at FAMU and Prairie View. Jerry Mack also had a successful stint at North Carolina Central. So you kind of go through it, and then you got some other guys that have kind of just not got it going. That'll be at the bottom, but definitely Chadwell. I assume will be at the top for both of us because he's been the most consistent.
Will he be here next year?
No. I think he dominates here just like Rich Rod, and then he's off to a P5 finally.
That's another school throwing a shit ton of money. I would not be surprised in 5 or 10 years if Liberty's in like the Big 12 or the ACC or something. I mean, they have a shit ton of money. So it's like, it's naive to just think all of a sudden, like, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm just saying, like, the sport changes. Liberty was D3 like fucking 10 years ago. They played in the Fiesta Bowl, 20 years ago when they had Eric Green at tight end. but yeah, Chadwell is one that you Liberty spending a lot more money than almost every team in the conference. So actually, I think I can say that more than every team in the conference, not almost, way more than every team in the conference. Let's get to it. YouTube.com/The College Experience. As you see, our fine slide work. The slide master was at it. At number 12, I have Tony Sanchez, the head coach of the New Mexico State Aggies. I thought they phoned this in. I had seen Tony Sanchez when he was at UNLV, and I didn't think he did a very good job. And I know he is one of their own, so I'll give them a little bit of a pass. He played wideout for them in the 90s. But whatever they did to piss off Jerry Kill, I'm still just like, unbelievable. How do you fuck that up? But also, how do you not hire his OC Tim Beck? Tony Sanchez is one where you look at what he's done as a head coach. Now he was a good high school coach, but at Bishop Gorman, but he is 23-49 as a head coach. He's never had a winning season. I think when I saw this hire, I kind of root for New Mexico State. Surprisingly, I feel like maybe I'm a Jerry Kill guy, and they had Hal Mummy at one point, but like, I want them to be good. When I saw Jerry Kill step down, first off, I was like, what? Come on, like, stay there. I wanted to see Hill versus Mendenhall. Or, I'm sorry, Kill versus Mendenhall. But when I saw them hire Sanchez, I said, come on, guys. You had Jerry Kill for 2 years. You're going back. You could have got Tim Beck. So I have Tony Sanchez at 12. I just thought it was a lazy hire just because he played wide out for them and he was a wide receivers coach for him. You at number 12 have Charles Kelly, who is the man replacing your boy Rich Rodriguez. Doing Jackson State just dirty, are you? Just off and running. Tell me about your logic here, because this is an interesting one to me.
I'm not a fan of the hire, to be honest. I mean, I thought his defense at Colorado was bad, very inconsistent. Felt like they were unprepared. I mean, that Stanford game felt like they had 15 penalties. They couldn't get guys on and off the field. Auburn, I didn't think they were very good, but kind of like Beck, we're like questioning why he got the job. He's on the Urban Meyer tree. Yeah, well, Kelly is on the Nick Saban tree. So those guys that are on the Saban and Meyer tree seem to get a little bit of the more benefit of the doubt. Maybe he proves me wrong, but on paper, not a fan of the hire, especially coming off Rich Rod.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not going to get as good as a coach as Rich Rod. There wasn't one out there, I think, to get, but he was at Jack State, from 94 to 98. So he had some history, but I think the bigger thing is he's just like an Alabama guy through and through. He played at Auburn, coached at Auburn, Alabama, Jacksonville State. I mean, I was a bit surprised he got the head coaching gig just because he did struggle at Colorado, and obviously Auburn wasn't setting the world on fire a year ago. But yeah, you have Charles Kelly at 12. At number 11 for me is Sonny Cumbie. I really wanted to place him 12 because that's schmuck athletic director over there, and maybe I don't. He fucking fired Skip Holtz, who had like the greatest run. I mean, Skip Holtz was like the best coach La Tech's had in like 50 years, and one year where they have a losing record, where they lose like every game. In like they should have beat Leach's Mississippi State team. They're up the whole game. I think SMU beats them on a fucking Hail Mary. Like they were way better than their record that year. And then you go out and hire Sonny Cumbie, and I mean, I just think the whole like all these Leach disciples that played quarterback for him, I just don't think they're very good. You saw it with Kingsbury, with Texas Tech. You see it with right now, like Eric Morris at North Texas. I don't think he's very good. I know he went to a bowl last year, but that was only because Marshall quit. Marshall didn't play the bowl game, and then last second they needed someone close to Shreveport, Louisiana, and it was like Louisiana Tech's like, I'll play. But they were not bowl eligible before that. They were 5-8 last year, 5-7 before that bowl game loss. He has been terrible in my opinion, like his tenure, and it's the way they get their ass whooped too. Like if you look at some of the outings that they've had in his tenure, there has been monumental ass whoopings. And I'm not talking the Powers fight, like South Alabama 38-14. North Texas beats them by 20. UTSA 51-7. I mean, it's honestly, as an ECU guy, it's very like Scotty Montgomery like. You could look back. Liberty beat them by 56-30. Sam Houston 40. Sam Houston jumped up from the FCS 42-27. Jacksonville State jumps up from the FCS 56-17. I honestly, the only way I think he has his job right now is because they had to pay the players. If it was 10 years ago, he would have already been fired. So I have Sonny Cumbie at 11. You also have Sonny Cumbie at 11. Your thoughts?
I mean, you kind of stole all my thunder, unfortunately. He's been very, very underwhelming. 11-26, 8-16 in his 3 years at Conference USA. And like you said, it's not that they're losing. If you got them going in the right direction, I guess technically they did. They went to a bowl game. They just don't look the part. They're soft. They're bad on the line of scrimmage, and they kind of just get drilled when they lose.
Yeah, have they ever beaten a team with a winning record under his tenure? Like I'm trying to think. Like I'm looking at the wins last year, which is his best season, and they beat their FCS team barely by one score. Middle Tennessee, which was terrible in Derek Mason's first season, 3-9. Utah, they got Western Kentucky. He's had one win against a team with a winning record in his 3 years. I mean, I think that says enough.
Yeah.
He'll probably be the first coach fired in this league if I had to.
Yeah, but and a Mike Leach guy, so it's, you want to root for him, but yeah, he's not. He's just
yeah. Rest in peace to the great Coach Leach, friend of the program, and best wishes to Sonny Cumbie. I don't dislike him. It's just the product on the field I don't buy into. At number 10 for me is Jerry Mack, and if there's one that I feel like I might be the most wrong on, it's this.
Yeah.
I had a really hard time figuring out where to place him. He was a head coach before, but that was a little ways ago. He left the head coaching position at North Carolina Central to be Rice's offensive coordinator, which is puzzling in its own way. He was most recently with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was also with Tennessee in Heupel's first couple of years there. I mean, he was 31-15 at Central. Went to the Celebration Bowl, lost the Celebration Bowl. I'm kind of on the fence on this one. Like I think it could work, but I don't know. I was kind of pissed at the way they fired their previous coach, but I found myself thinking I wish he had another tenure as a head coach, because I will say that Central's kind of been kicking ass for a minute here. I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one, but I thought the unknown is still better than what I know Sonny Cumbie or Sanchez to be. So I put him at 10th, and he is in Georgia. There's a lot of talent there. Maybe he makes it work. Maybe it's a better hire than I think. So I had Jerry Mack at number 10. You had Tony Sanchez at number 10. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the hire. I didn't think he did a good job at UNLV when he was 10 and or 20-40. I mean, it's hard to believe he was the Cal head coach when Aaron Rodgers way back in the day. So. But yeah, I mean, I not a fan of the hire. 3-9, and like you said, man, I love the Jerry Kill era, just like the Rich Rod era, and it's just gone downhill since then.
Yeah, I just can't believe after they had just gotten like the student body, they had been such a doormat for a while, and Kill came in. And like they got the student body behind the football. I just felt like finally they were getting on the right track. And then whatever they did to piss off Kill, and then them not hiring Beck and going Sanchez, it was very, very disappointing. Tony Sanchez at number 10 for Moneyline Mac. At number 9 for me is Charles Kelly. I'll be honest. You made some good points. But I just thought, hey, he's a Jacksonville State guy. He's never been a head coach there, but he's been a part of some very good coaches. You know, he was coached at Florida State when they won a national championship under Jimbo. I know that some people would say, is that a good coach? And that's fair. But he still won. He was part of a national championship team there. He was with Tommy Bowden at Auburn back in the day. Played under what? Fucking Pat Dye. I mean, coach with Saban. His tree is coach with Dion. He has a decent coaching tree, and the guy has spent majority of his career in Alabama. He even coached high school back in the day. So I just thought, hey, the shoe fits a little bit. Why not give him a shot if he knows Alabama through and through? But yeah, I have no idea how it's going to work out. I mean, I did not, when I saw Rich Rod leave, I had a list of guys I thought Jacksonville State would hire. Charles Kelly was nowhere near that list. So in that regard, I could see him being thrown behind, but I could say the same for Kennesaw State as well. So I had Charles Kelly at number 9. Moneyline Mac at number 9, Phil Longo. And if his head coaching tenure is anything like his haircut, we're all fucked. But your thoughts, I wouldn't tell him that to his face though. It looks like a guy that'll punch you in the face. Tell me why you got Phil Longo, the Sam Houston State new head coach, who ironically Phil Longo is a guy that failed upwards. He got fired at Wisconsin and then became a head coach. What the fuck?
That's what I was just about to tell you. How does one do a bad job and then get a promotion? So
Cliff Kingsbury. It happened to Kingsbury at Texas Tech. He got fired. Then he got the Arizona Cardinals gig. It's like, what? But
good point. So I mean, Longo doing a good job, getting a job, I guess. I don't know how to sell this art. I probably should have had him lower, but I mean, there's some bad ones at the bottom that I've seen with proof in the pudding. So yeah, Longo is at the bottom.
Well, I can help you here a little bit. I mean, because wait, I think he might be next for me. Let me.
He did a bad job at Wisconsin. I couldn't believe that.
He did. Job. But hang on. So yeah,
he wasn't bad at Carolina.
That's what I was about to say. At number 8, I have Phil Longo. So I actually have him ranked one higher than you. I mean, at Carolina, that offense was zooming, and I kind of liked what he did at Sam Houston back in 14 to 16. And he's been at some other good schools within those ranks. Like that offense, honestly, Wisconsin was the only time. And that was, is it fair to say part of that might have been the radical change from going from like a ground and pound? Like, I don't know how much of that is on him. Going ground and pound and going dairy raid. I don't know. Like that shit was going to take time. You knew it just wasn't going to be year one. I mean, he was there 2 years, but then, the quarterback got injured in the second game of the season last year at Wisconsin. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, but I will say this: when he was at Carolina, I got first place in a DraftKings in that Wake Forest Hartman against Sam Howell Carolina game, and that was Longo's offense that year that I was just loading up on. So if that, in that regard, I remember thinking at that point, I was like, man, I wonder if he gets a mid-major gig with his offense cooking like this. Then the Wisconsin thing happened. And then I thought there was no way he was going to get a mid-major gig, but he got it. So yeah, I have him ranked one spot higher than you. And shout out to Michael in the chat. Says, watching the slideshow makes me miss the great years of the CUSA. I think you're referring to back when my East Carolina Pirates were in that fine conference. Yeah, Phil Longo at number 8 for me, and shout out to Michael. We got number 8 for Moneyline Mac is Derek Mason and Michael, I think, is a Middle Tennessee fan. So
yeah, I mean, I know it's a tough first year, but at times I thought he did a good job at Vanderbilt. I mean, he made 2 bowl games. Now he was coming off the Franklin era, so the program was at a pretty good spot. And then of course he was 0-8 his last year. So I need to see a second year. He was a hard one to rank for me. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't think he was horrible at Vandy, because Vandy's a hard ass job. But at the same time, I think 3-9 is underwhelming to start at Middle Tennessee too.
Yeah. Michael saying, finally you got the Derek Mason. Michael, I don't know if you were one of the people in the chat over the years, because I was defending Rick Stockstill so much, which, by the way, we will have a callback to Rick Stockstill in a little bit. I thought he did a great job at Middle Tennessee, and I thought it was crazy that they put the fan base, at least in our chat over the years, were like wanted him fired. And I'm like, what? The guy wins. He's beaten a bunch of Power 5 schools. You know, I did not like the hire of Mason personally, but I still, I'll get to my point here, but yeah, I mean, I do think he'll be better this year. All right. There's that for you. At number 7 for me is Ryan Beard. I actually think this is like one of the biggest mystery ones to me, because if I am being honest, Ryan Beard, former defensive back at Western Kentucky, I believe he married into Petrino's family, if memory serves me correct. He married Bobby Petrino's daughter, and he was on the staff. That's one way to get a head coaching gig. Good for you, Ryan. But in all honesty, look, he's 12-11. He took over. He was 4-7 in year 1. But last year, so I was a huge skeptic in year 1 last season. They kind of had like a breakthrough year in a way. Now, with that said, they still didn't make the FCS playoffs, but they kind of turned around the season and almost beat Ball State back in week 2. But then you kind of dive into the schedule, and you're like, they kind of got worked by any team with the pulse. I mean, I guess Montana, they played close, but the other teams that were really good, North Dakota State and South Dakota State, waxed them. And I guess they got one win against a ranked team that was Illinois State. But I believe, if memory serves me correct, Illinois State's quarterback was out that game. But anyway, I had a hard time placing him here. I really had. He was an assistant with Petrino at Louisville too. I mean, one thing about Petrino is, like, when things are going well, he's like really good as a head coach, but when things go bad, they go fucking bad. I didn't know where the fuck to place this guy. I kind of was like, I don't know how much I didn't even know if he was that qualified to get the head coaching gig, besides, you know, but then I was impressed last season. I thought they took a big step forward. So I put him at 7th because of last season, strictly last season, I believe. You had Ryan Beard at number 7. There we go. We're on the same page here. What was the logic?
Same. I mean, middle of the pack, 12-11. Now stepping up from the Valley. How do they go year 1 of Conference USA? Another guy, right place, right time to get this gig. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this is okay. I know I said before that I think the hardest one to judge was Jerry Mack. I'm going to say Jerry Mack and Ryan Beard. Those two ones, like, Beard might be a very good coach. You might see, I mean, he did turn, it's like Tim Albin. Tim Albin sucked in year 1 at Ohio, and then they figured it out. Won a MAC championship last year. Now he's at Charlotte. Well, Beard, definitely, they looked a lot better last year. So that's my logic. I'm ranking him number 7. Look, we're going to get to number 6, but before I do that, I want to let the good folks know that the college football experience is brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, CT Rhythm is your home for AI-backed picks and props. Dominate the NBA playoffs, PGA, MLB, and they just launched the WNBA models. And what's great too is, like, you can build your own model. Like, yeah, look, you can copy some and you'll probably make money if you just copy the top ones on the leaderboard, but also you can build your own, suggest what you like. I love that. And look, Rhythm knows you'll love their product, because that's why they're giving you a free 7-day trial period. And look, they got some great deals going on right now. 25% off the monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25 and 50% off the annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. That's Rhythm. That's RITHMM. Promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. And also, don't forget to get your free 7-day trial. SportsGamblingPodcast.com/rhythm. Once again, RITHMM. We're also brought to you by Circa and their ultimate fantasy football giveaway. Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada is giving the ultimate fantasy football experience to a 12-person league. Get this. You're going to be able to draft in Vegas and be treated like VIPs for the entire stay. Yes, the winner will receive a 2-night stay at Circa Resort for their entire 12-team league, 6 double king rooms. You can hold the draft at a cabana at Stadium Swim, which is, if you haven't checked out Stadium Swim, just Google image that thing. Thank me later. And they're going to give you a $5,000 food and beverage credit, limo transportation from the airport. They're going to pick you up. You know damn well there'll be some booze in there. You'll be shooting back, fireball. The goddamn, you haven't even been to the hotel yet. You got a welcome party at the Legacy Club, which is like on the 50th floor. You can see all of Vegas. It's fucking awesome. I've gotten shit hammered at the Legacy Club. You get a reservation at the world's largest sports book, which obviously is Circa. That's why it's awesome to go there, with a $500 beverage credit at that sports book. Then a 2-hour open bar package at the Overhang Bar for the entire league. Holy shit, what a deal. Contest runs from May 5th to June 30th. And here's how you enter. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. That's CIRCA. Once again, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag. Yes, MyBookie is your place to bet on every single sport, including the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs. Look, and for the true degens, the MyBookie money bag is a trip. Check that one out. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of different locations as well. You can easily deposit, get lightning fast payouts using crypto. Head on over to mybookie.ag with the promo code TCESGPN. That's our promo code for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Once again, terms and conditions apply. And that is mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back. And shout out to DB Cooper. He knows about Saginaw's Deli at the Circa. Mac, we've been there before.
Oh, yeah, baby. I love Circa.
Great spot. Saginaw's, about 24 hours, too. You can get a good meal. Second floor there. Get on up there. Back talking CUSA football. Had Ryan Beard ranked at number 7. And for me at number 6, I had Scotty Walden, the UTEP Miners head coach. I love his energy. I mean, he painted himself fucking orange, went to the basketball game to try to get fans behind him. He's a Texas guy through and through. He was at Sullivan State there. And I do believe you got them joining the Mountain West soon, so they are departing. He did a great job at Austin Peay. And he was one that was interesting because he was the interim coach at Southern Miss and then punted on the job to go to Austin Peay, which was a bit of a head scratcher at the time. Now, last season at UTEP, he basically did the same thing that Dana Dimel did. And by the way, rest in peace to the great Dana Dimel. Dana Dimel was the coach in 23. They went 3-9. Well, Scotty Walden takes over. They go 3-9. But I will say this. I thought they got better as the season went along because out the gate, I mean, they lost to an FCS, the Thunderbirds of Southern Utah. I was watching that game at the Sun Bowl there. One of, in my opinion, the best college football stadium in the country there, the Sun Bowl. If you haven't been to a game, go check it out there. But so they started out 0-5 and it was looking rough, but then they beat Florida International. They should have beat Louisiana Tech. They lost by 4. The game after that. So this is the turning point was October 16th. They beat Florida International. Next week, 4-point loss. Next week, 7-point loss to Derek Mason in Middle Tennessee. Then they beat Kennesaw in overtime. Then they played Tennessee in a game that should never happen. Tennessee won 56-0. Throw that out the books. Then they won the Battle of I-10 against New Mexico State. So to me, getting 3 wins down the stretch, and basically, if you throw the Tennessee game out, which obviously they were going to get worked no matter when you played that, the final 5 games of the season, they were 3-2. And if you're throwing the Tennessee game out, and those 2 losses were by a combined 11 points. So I'm hoping there. If honestly, like if you told me one program that I want to be nasty, they would probably get my first vote outside of my favorite teams. Just with the Sun Bowl and El Paso, big city, they should be nasty. I've always wondered why the fuck they're not better. I have Scotty Walden at number 6, and a lot of it is based on what he did at Austin Peay. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You at number 6 have Jerry Mack. So we're drastically off on Mack. I think I had him at 10th, but I mean, I labeled him a mystery hire in a way. Tell me why you have Jerry Mack so high.
I mean, he won 3 straight MEAC championships at NC Central. The mystery is definitely that he was in the NFL last year, but he was on the staff of Tennessee when they got that thing going in the right direction. So part of that building process. Interested to see how he does, but I mean, his track record is that he wins usually. So I think I'm high on this Jerry Mack hire.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing I would say is like what Trey Oliver has done currently at North Carolina Central is he has been very good. I mean, he's only had one losing season. That was the first year he took over at 19, then 6-5, then 10-2, then 9-3, then 8-3. So like, but maybe Mack was the one to put that foundation in, but, and they won the Celebration Bowl in their Trey Oliver. So, I'll be glad to admit that if I'm wrong on this one, because I don't have strong conviction with me having him ranked 10th. At number 5 for me is Derek Mason, and I know our boy in the chat is going to be saying, "How the fuck do you have him number 5?" I came into this thinking he was going to be number 10 to me. I shit you not. I thought in my head I was like 9 or 10, and then I was like, "Yeah, you know what? He was better." I was looking at his resume. I was like, "He's a Harbaugh guy." I was like, "He's better at Vandy than I think I give him credit for in my brain." Like, he did have a couple bowl seasons at Vanderbilt, which I think actually is impressive. And then you look at some of the other stops he's had. The guy's been a part of like very good staffs. He was with Urban Meyer, Harbaugh, Mike Gundy. So I'm like, maybe he's a better coach than I realized. Now, I was all over Middle Tennessee on the under last year. So thank you, Derek. And I still don't think, to me, it was a downgrade. Rick Stockstill was a very good coach. And to go to Derek Mason, I thought was a downgrade. Now, that doesn't mean that Mason can't turn this thing into a winner. But I think it's more of a testament, Michael, and I appreciate you, man. As I'll put your comment up there. But I think it's more because there's so much unproven coaches in this conference. Like, a lot of these other coaches have never even coached. Like, Charles Kelly's never been a fucking head coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, half these guys haven't even been head coaches, or if they have been at the FBS level, it's been for like 1 year. So Derek Mason's been to multiple bowl games, been a part of some that Utah team was a fucking force. So it's like that Stanford teams with Harbaugh were very good. So I'm like, you got to give him a little bit of credit there. So yeah. I got Mason at 5, even though I came in thinking he was going to be 9 or 10 to me. You at number 5 have Scotty Walden. There we go.
Scotty Walden, man.
What's the logic here?
His Austin Peay tenure. Although I will say Austin Peay was rolling when he got there as well, but I thought he did a good job. Got him to the tournament the last year. And I will say last year, Dundee, that they improved in the second half of the year. They went 3-3 down the stretch. They lost to 2 close ones, to La Tech and Middle Tennessee, although you could argue they probably should have won both of them. Big second year, though. But my ranking mainly off Austin Peay.
Yeah, the Governors, if people don't know FCS, first subscribe to the FCS College Football Experience, which we host. Yeah, you're a former Governor. They were fucking ass for a long time before Will Healy and Scotty Walden.
Yeah,
Will Healy and Scotty Walden got it rolling. But yeah.
And Hudspeth.
Yeah, Mark Hudspeth. Yeah. Yep. So credit to the Govs for getting Scotty Walden to El Paso. At number 4, I have Ryan Carty, and I do like Ryan Carty, and I do think call me crazy. I'm curious. Let me ask you this question. All right. So we know Liberty is the team to beat year in, year out because of the amount of money they spend. Who do you think the program you can trust most besides Liberty in this conference moving forward? I think it's Delaware. Delaware has been very good for a long time. Now, granted, it was in the FCS, but man, they've pumped a lot of NFL players, out. And I just think that look, they're the only. I know it's a small state, but they're the state school. You know what I mean? Like, I tend to think that they're the program that will be probably the second best team, or like that. I know that football matters there, and I feel like they would focus on football thriving more than, say, a lot of these other schools in this conference, perhaps. I know Western Kentucky's also, in the ranks there. But anyway, I wanted to answer that one before we go into Ryan Carty. Who do you think the second best program would be moving forward, like that you could trust year in, year out?
I think it's got to be the Tops because of the money. Liberty's basically a high major, and they're going to get out of this league in a couple of years. So I probably would say the Tops. I mean, we see it in basketball. Their investments. I always thought UTEP should invest more and more.
I do too, dude. They should be the answer. They should be the correct answer. But I think Delaware, man. Delaware spends in football, not basketball, but football.
I was starting to think it might be Jack State, but I worried that they may halt all their momentum.
Yeah, I'm a little weary of Jack State and Kennesaw, even though they're in talent-rich areas.
How do you go from Rich Rod to? I still can't get over that. How do you go from Rich Rod to Charles?
Rich Rod's son was on the staff. They should have kept him. They should have just gone one Rodriguez to another. But maybe West Virginia will do that down the line. But Ryan Carty is, one of the things I do appreciate about Ryan Carty is he was a Delaware Blue Hen himself. And he took over for Danny Rocco, and I thought he elevated the program a little bit. Danny Rocco was getting into the playoffs. I mean, like I said, this program, let me see if I could I should have loaded this up before, but I just want people to, so a lot of people I feel like that don't watch FCS football. They're surprised when JMU and App State and Georgia Southern enter the FBS and they start rolling, right? I wasn't, because I watched these programs in the FCS and I thought, man, these were fucking great programs. So you can go back to, honestly, 1968. Since 1968, Delaware has had I'm counting 3 losing seasons. No, 4. 2008 was one. My point is they've been a fucking wagon for a long time. All right. They probably should have made the jump like a decade ago. But Carty, under Dan, he took over for Danny Rocco, and under Danny Rocco, they were all right. They were only had one. Actually, they had 2 losing seasons. I guess I missed a couple losing seasons there. But they went to the Final Four in the COVID season, right? They went to the Final Four of the FCS playoffs under Danny Rocco. But Carty comes in, and he went 8-5 in year 1. Went to the second round, lost to the eventual national champion. And then last year they were not eligible because they were jumping to the FBS, but they were 9-4. And they have a win over Navy with Brian Newberry. So he beat an FBS in his first 2 years. I think they got the right guy, and he's a Delaware Hen himself, or Blue Hen himself. I think they got the right guy. You at number 4 had Tyson Helton there, the brother of Clay.
Yep.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, the better Helton. Good coach. Has done a solid job at Western Kentucky. I would like to see them get over that hump. So far, they kind of just been first, second, third, and then fourth. They've been an 8-9 win program. Can they jump up and get a double-digit win season? But they've had an identity under Helton the last 4 or 5 years. They got a plan, and I think he's done a good job now with, like I said, with Rich Rod out. And him and Chadwell being the longest tenured coaches now, maybe they can go 1-2 here. But to put him higher up, I want to see him win a big one here.
Yeah. and that will, I believe I can talk about him right now because number 3 is for me is Tyson Helton. So I had him one spot higher. I thought he's proven a little bit more than Carty. And then the fact that so many Delaware coaches thrived. But I mean, Western Kentucky is in similar vein, has been very good no matter the coach. I will say this, if you look at Clay Helton's best season, it was when his best 2 seasons at USC is when Tyson Helton was his offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. So I do think there's something there. I think he's a way better coach than Clay Helton. So he's done a pretty good job with the Tops. You'd like to see him take it to the next level with the Tops, but I still think like you can count on them for a bowl game almost each and every year. So I think he is one of the top 2-3 coaches in this league. So that's what I have at number 3. For you at number 3 is Ryan Carty. So we just have that switched out.
And then we got the top 2 together.
Yeah. So what do you like about Carty?
I like Carty a lot because Carty played at Delaware, so I always like that, and it makes it easier to root for. 3 straight 9-win seasons to start here. Now they make the jump up to Conference USA, so I'm looking forward to seeing this era. But they've had an identity. He's continued that era of Blue Hen football that's been so good for so many years. Good hire, and we'll see how much longer he's there. I know it's his alma mater, but I mean, he wins. He could get one of those AAC jobs or ACC jobs, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I believe he was the OC of Sam Houston when they won the Natty as well. So,
yeah, for
Keeler, Casey Keeler, yeah.
Keeler was good at Delaware forever.
Yeah, the Delaware connects. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any beef with this. I had him ranked at number 4. You have him at number 3, and we have those interchanges.
See eye to eye.
At number 2 is one. Get the Miami Vice Knights going. I was a year off on this. Much like Patty C called for Bill O'Brien to be the head coach of Boston College like 5-6 years ahead of time. I was lobbying for FIU to hire him 2 years ago. Well, Willie Simmons is who I'm referring to, and I'm old enough to remember Willie Simmons as a starting quarterback of Clemson. Multiple seasons there. It was pretty damn good too. I'm a big fan of Willie Simmons. I think he's a damn good coach. So he was the head coach at Prairie View in Florida A&M. And last season, so he left the sitting head coaching position at Florida A&M after winning the national championship there. And then went to Duke as a running backs coach. And by the way, Duke had a great season. So I do think he had something to do with that. But another thing, and I said this earlier, he's a Rick Stockstill guy. It's a longtime assistant for Rick Stockstill. This is who Middle Tennessee should have hired, but they were mad at Rick to have Rick Stockstill. God knows why. The fans wanted something different. I am very excited to see him. Obviously, Willie Simmons played at Clemson, but he is a Florida guy, born and raised Florida, and obviously what he did as a head coach first at Prairie View, 21-11 at Prairie View, which was a challenging program at one point. Then what he did at Florida A&M, year 1, 6-5, then 9-2, then 9-3, then 9-2, then 12-1 national championship. The guy has never had a losing season as a head coach at 2 programs that I think you can make a good argument. Pretty challenging programs, have a lot of things going against them.
Yep.
Specifically the Prairie View one. So I think Florida International kind of hit a home run by hiring him. So at number 2, I have Willie Simmons, Miami Vice Knights. Bring the Sunblazers name back, of course, but I see you have him at number 2 as well. I hope I didn't steal all the thunder there.
Hey, you did a little bit, but I mean, he was great. Easy guy to sell. Prairie View, 21-11. They weren't very good when he took over. 19-6 in the SWAC. Then he dominates the MEAC. They go back to the SWAC, FAMU, 32-5, 45-13 with a celebration. And he did a good job at Duke last year with Manny Diaz. I mean, that's another check the box wherever he's gone. They've been associated with winning, overachieving, and now here we are. This is an easy hire to get behind. Maybe they become the second tier program.
Look, I know they were struggling. Butch Davis a few years back saying, well, we're still using Mississippi State shoulder pads from 2005. They got Pitbull Stadium. All right. Pitbull and his fucking vodka company being served at the place. I'm on board with FIU being, and look, there is Willie Simmons is plugged into the fucking high school talent and shit there. I think you're right. I think this is one that could be with just being right there. Who doesn't want to be in fucking Miami having a good time, hanging out with fucking Pitbull? You kidding me?
Yep.
Late at night, you know, God knows what you're getting your fucking self into. I saw Cocaine Cowboys. Cuba's only 80 miles off the coast. All right. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I love this hire. All right. I really do. And I think it's going to work out. I think he's a damn good football coach. So we both have the same number 2s. And of course we have the same number 1, Jamey Chadwell. We both have him at number 1 and with great reason. I think anyone you ask, I really believe anyone that covers college football would have Jamey Chadwell at number 1 in this conference.
Yep.
I honestly think out of any conference, you know, I even think he'd be more unanimous than Kirby Smart being number 1 in the SEC or Ryan Day in the Big Ten. I think more people would vote Chadwell. He's done a great job. I don't expect him to be here next year. I think he might be Virginia Tech's next head coach or Virginia's next head coach but he, I remember, I think he first got on my radar, I think at North Greenville. And then he went to Charleston Southern, I believe, then Coastal, and then Liberty. But the guy has won everywhere he's been. Except, I mean, I think he was at Delta State one year and he was only 3-7, but every other stop he's been, he rarely fucking loses. So, I love the offense they're running too. So, former quarterback at East Tennessee State there in Johnson City. Why do you have Chadwell number 1? I know it's kind of deer in a cage here, but yeah.
I mean, what Beck has done at Coastal sells him even more. That helps. But he did a great job at Liberty, 13-1. And then Coastal, he was awesome there. And North Greenville, like you said, he got that thing going. 21-14 when he had a 2-8 with like limited scholarship guys that year. So like he's a good damn coach. And you won't be seeing him at Liberty much longer unless Liberty jumps up to a power conference.
I'm fat. Like I hope he stays at Liberty, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think he'll be out the door. I think many schools will be calling. I mean, next year you're talking about this potential. I mean, he could follow Strip Club Freeze and Auburn might make the call. I just think there's so many. I mean, if Florida gets rid of Napier, do they call Chadwell? Right? If Virginia or Virginia Tech, both coaches on the hot seat there, do they call Jamey Chadwell? I mean, there's a slew. I'm forgetting some too. I think, but the guy does have ties just through the state. I think actually that would be one that, I mean, I'm kind of lateral, but I was going to say if Memphis ever moved on, but either way, the guy's just a really good coach. And I mean, he's won Coach of the Year. He's won Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year, Sunbelt Coach of the Year, CUSA Coach of the Year, Paul Bear Bryant Coach of the Year. So I think you have to have him at number 1, and that is our list. How many of these guys will be fired? Or not even fired? How many will be back next year? Chadwell, we think will be gone. Simmons will be there, I think.
Sonny will be gone for the wrong reasons.
Yes, Sonny Cumbie.
Sonny's the only one that's going to get fired because the other 3-9 guys, it's only been 1 year. And this is Conference USA. This isn't like Auburn where they just like make up a rumor about you and your wife.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe Carty. I mean, if Carty gets it going and like they win the league in year 1, maybe he could get an AAC job. But if I were him, man, I'd get it going a little bit more and then try and get like an ACC job.
So I think because you have so many new faces, I don't think they'd pull Sanchez because he's one of their own. I think it's really just like Cumbie, Carter and what's her name in first place? Chadwell. Interesting conference. One of the things I love the CUSA though is they're playing those Tuesday, Wednesday games. Glad to see them doing those. And look, there's a shot. I think I might go to a Delaware game this year. Get up to Delaware Stadium there, where Rich Gannon used to throw touchdown passes and Joe Flacco. What did you think of the overall exercise? It was pretty easy at the top.
Yeah. It gets easier at this level just because there's such a big discrepancy, and same with some of the other mid-major leagues. Who did we just do last night? I forget what league we just did.
Sunbelt. Yeah, there's so many year one coaches or year two coaches that, I mean, unless they ran the table or they went 10-2, it's hard to put them above in the top half. So that kind of fills out your basement, and then you're just selecting who's done the best job of the guys that have been able to have retention. Or in Sonny Cumbie's case, who's at the basement. Yeah. So fascinating times for sure, and excited to see Delaware and Missouri State in the conference this year. The chat, what are you guys making up rumors? Colby doesn't sip Crown. I love Crown Royal.
Hell yeah,
Royale. I mean, I haven't had it in a while. Cody. Look, I'm an Irishman. I like fucking everything. You know what? I don't like champagne. All right.
Yeah.
You won't see me with fucking champagne besides when the ball's dropping or some shit like that. With my wife or something. We'll see. And even that, I would still bet against. I got to be at a party where someone hands me that shit. Everything else is game. Let's go. Shout out to Robert Martin and shout out to Cody Frazier. But that's our show. We got the Mac, and we're gonna have to include in the Mac one Marcus Freeman and Jim Moore. Jim Moore, friend of the program, been on the show, hell of a good guy, doing wonders up there in with the UConn program. Don't let that shit deceive you. UConn was a good team last year. So folks, we got that, and then obviously next week we are previewing the beginning 136 episodes, 136 teams. We do it every fucking year, but this year Missouri State and Delaware are part of the party. And also, we are going to randomize it. People have been wondering, where are we starting? Are we going A? Last year we went by conference. The previous years we did alphabetically A to Z, and it wasn't fair to the fans and the W's and the Z's. So we just used a randomizer. So we're actually starting with the SMU Mustangs. Yeah, they got number one somehow. And look, I can be bribed, but I swear they didn't bribe me. They could have just slipped me a C note and I would have done it. But SMU preview will be the first preview we do coming next week. Appreciate everyone in the chat, and make sure you check out the college baseball experience as the season is rolling along. Oh man, I was planning to go down to Conway, catch ECU take on Florida Friday at noon, but damn if it's like 80% chance of rain all day. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to drive all the way there with the uncertainty of the game getting delayed for a fucking day. So I'm going to have to watch it on TV, but check out the college baseball experience. The sport is growing. It's fantastic. And and also check out the college basketball experience. Mac always killing it, doing some coaching interviews, talking portal. How about how many guys came back from the NBA draft that were flirting?
NIL.
Yeah, NIL. It's a good thing. Also, check out the FCS college football experience. We just did a Sac State episode. Go check out that, and check out the Sports Gambling podcast. Audio sounding nice and fire there. Till next time, make sure you give Moneyline Mac a follow on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. This is the college football experience, CUSA style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. shoot.